Good morning, everybody. I hope you're well, and I hope lockdown has been not too uncomfortable for you all. I know the majority of us are in lockdown at the moment, and that's why I've been having a bit of a play. So I've been having a bit of a play with the dilution paints, and they're quite fun. I'd forgotten how fun and vibrant they are. So this is the old Dylusions paint. This is the way that it used to come. They're now coming in these little bottles, which are great for storage. So that's the new one, but I've still got some of the old ones. So I thought I'd just show you the difference between them. So the little squeeze bottle has got a little lid, and you can just squeeze it out onto your little craft mat. So I just wanted to show you first, the reason why I've been playing with the dilution paints is because I did a lovely online course with Tracy. Now please don't get angry with me if I say the surname wrongly. I think it's Zapful, and she did an online course. So it was this page. So I've done this page and followed Tracy, and then I've come up with this page they're both using Kazaz products, but people have been asking me how I did it. So I don't want to take away from Tracy's class, but I thought what I'll do is just very quickly show you how she's created this streaky background. Because it's a great background. It's been used for all of these pages that I've done. So here again is following Tracy, and then creating a second page, and all what you can see is all with Kazaz products. So the same with the sunflowers as well. So here I've just, as you can see, I've been experimenting and a bit more experimenting. So with the paint, when you paint with your paintbrush, you can get these lovely streaky kind of effects with the dilution paint. So they're just backgrounds that I'm getting ready to play with in the future. Also, I don't know if you can see, but I've also, all these pages have been gessoed first, and then I've also, using the gesso, used some stencils so you can see the flourish. I don't know if you can see the flourish there. So today, what I was doing though is, because I was doing these painted backgrounds, I was having lots of paint left over. So I thought, what do? I don't want to throw away all this paint, because I never know. I always tend to put out too much paint rather than just enough. So I was been creating these backgrounds, and yesterday I was having a play with this little background here. So I thought I'd show you a few backgrounds that I thought we might go on to next fortnight, making a couple of cards using those backgrounds. And we'll do backgrounds, and then I'll show you how I've made this little card here. Okay? So first of all, I thought I might just show you the streaky one. So all you're doing with that is you're using a paintbrush. So we're just putting down a bit of all the paints. Actually, just make sure you shake your paints up first. I've also got the sniffles, so sorry if I sniff. I don't mean to sniff, but sometimes it just happens. My trusty nappy here. Because again, you don't want to contaminate your paints. Oh, I love that colour. That's the fresh lime. So we've got London Blue, fresh lime, and Calypso teal. I'm also going to use a little bit of the Balmy Night, which is the dark blue. So I'm just putting bits out. Oops. Remember to shake, Lucy. Okay, so all that is what I've done in my journal is I've gessoed first. Oh, well, let's gesso first because we can just dry that off. So it's just getting the gesso on. Now, you don't even, if you're not using a stencil, which I'm not at the moment, you can actually just leave that as the white, and then you're going to just pick up bits of paint, and so you can just streak them on. So you're picking up, and that was probably a bit too much grey, but then you can just lighten it up. So you just keep going until you're happy with what you've created. Adding a bit more green, a bit more blue. So I think I'm kind of happy with that at the moment. So again, you can see it's quite streaky. And then we're going to dry it off. So just drying it off, if I wasn't, I could leave this to dry, but knowing me, I'd probably put something on top of it. So if you dry it off first, or get it to a stage where it's almost dry, then that kind of helps. Also, what you can do is dry it off, and then if you think, oh, I need to add a bit more blue or a bit more green or a bit more of the darker colour, then you can do that as well without contaminating it, without mixing it too much, because what I find is that you tend to overbrush and then you tend to get a bit of mud going on. So it's just being aware that you don't, less is more sometimes. You don't want to overpaint. And I don't know if you can see here, but I've got a little lump of paint. But again, sometimes that's nice to have that bit of texture there. So that's almost dry. Now I really like the London blue, so I'm just going to add a little bit more streaks of the London blue on this. So again, just picking up a bit of the paint, and I'm just going to streak it, probably a bit too much. You just want a fairly dry brush, and just feather it. So you're getting a few more streaks on there. So I think I'm happy with that. So that blue, let me just, and again, you just sort of tend to go, oh, I've just done too much. Yep, that's not feathering very well. So just, let me put a little bit of blue over the top of that. Yeah, we tend to go one step too far. Okay, green. So you just continue until you're happy with what you've created. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm just going to put that away now. But see how here I've overdone the putting out of paint. So I've got way too much. So this is where you can create some backgrounds, use up this paint. So, you know, an art journal page. Do some backgrounds for some cards. Do a scrapbooking layout. Like the background for a scrapbooking layout would look great with this as well. So don't just be throwing your paints down in the garbage, because you can use them. Okay. So what I'm going to show you now is what else I came up with. So I thought, I've got so much paint there. What does it look like if I just use one of these and do the same technique, but with a blending tool? So again, I sort of just picked up bits and pieces of each one and then just started with the blending tool. And so you can get a much more finer, just a little bit of, and this is how I basically came up with the background for my little lighthouse card. So you can see there that's a bit finer, a bit more see-through, so you can see the paint a bit more. I mean, we could keep adding paint. Let that happen a little bit. Oops, way too much. Okay. See, you get carried away. Oh. That's a bit too dark. But what I could do is now go over it with a wet one and take off some of that paint. So you can see you can take it off. And I'll add a bit more. With the blue. I don't know if you can see that. I'm just going to have another go. So what we're going to do now is a bit lighter. Oops. It's amazing how you practice this and then it just doesn't quite go how you want it. It's not too bad. Okay. Then another thing that you can do is also use the paint with a wipe. So what, and of course, actually guys, I'm just going to pop it away for a second to grab some more card. Here we go. So I got a bit carried away, didn't I? So now all you're doing is picking up the paint with the wipe and wiping it on. So you can see here, it's really pale. So I've used an A5 base card because I'm then just going to cut it down to do whatever I want to do. I'm going to keep this light, so I'm not going to use any of the Balmy Night. I'm just going to keep this fairly light. Okay, So that's pretty well covered. So you can see that's a lot lighter than what than this is. Okay. So it's just using things in a different way. Now we've got all this paint on here, so we can just use the rest of it on here. Now you're thinking, what the hell can she do with that? But let's see. Okay, so next fortnight I'll show you what I've done with these backgrounds. So that's just that one. So again, just very pale. Okay. Now, what I want to do also is just, we've got, these are all dirty. So let's, well, see, that's the other thing as well. So you can just pounce with what you've got. And this becomes another background for you, and you're still not wasting. Leave it on this one. Okay, so that's that. The other thing that you can do is just blend. So you can blend. So it blends really beautifully. And a bit of it clips her teal. And a little bit more of the green. So there's another couple of backgrounds that we can use on cards. Okay. So I think that's enough for backgrounds. It's basically just experimenting and using different pieces of equipment. We could also use the palette knife. So we'll have a go at that as well. So especially if you've got large amounts of paint left over. So we can just scrape on. So it's just, you know, these different backgrounds. Now, I like that with a bit of white in the background. So we just leave that. Again, they're quick backgrounds. You can make lots of them. Oops, sorry, I just bumped you then. Make lots of them to then have in your stash, to then pull out and think, okay, what am I going to do with this? Here's a piece, here's a pretty piece. So again, these are 3 colours that I've used. You don't have to use these 3 colours. You can use any. I find if you go more than 3 or 4 colours, though, it does start to get a bit muddy. But it's up to you. Have an experiment. We're in lockdown. Get your creative caps on and have a play. It's good fun. What else have I got here that we can use? I think that's about it for the minute. I am just a little bit disappointed with that one. So let's have another experiment with streaking the paint on, because I did, oh, that's better. It's just when you take it too far, when you just keep going too much. So we're just going to do light, keep it the light. We're not going to introduce any of the again, I've gone too heavy with that. Okie dokies. Now, so you can see, still got a ton of paint. I could go on forever, but I'm not going to. I do have to tuck that down a bit. Okay, so now I'm going to dry that off because that's the piece that I'm going to use for the lighthouse. Just a little bit more aqua up here because I want that to be the sky. So just making sure that's dry before I start stamping on it. Yep, that's dry. So then we've got our archival again, which I love to stamp with, and it's under here. So again, make sure that once you're finished using your paintbrushes, you wash them off. Sorry, I couldn't do two things at one time there, could I? So what I'm going to do with this is, we used to have a precision press, but we don't have that anymore. So what I'm going to do is just use as a a makeshift precision press. I'm going to use my lid here, which is from the tabbed box kit, chipboard kit. I'm just going to put a piece of tape. I was sure I had tape here. Doesn't look like I brought the tape out. I'm just going to duck to grab the tape. Sorry, guys. This is terrible. You're going to say, Lucy's having a shocker today. Anyway, so I'm just going to put a bit of tape on just because it's a bit wet, it tends to buckle a bit. I'm going to pop it right in the corner. And then I'm going to use that, and I want that a little bit higher. So I'm going to put that right up there. And that's the position that I'm wanting. Maybe just a little bit lower. So just working out. Yeah, looks all right. So now we're just going to put that aside for a minute. Ink up the stamp. And always remember to have your stamps on your block. Take your ink pad to your stamp, and that way you're much less likely to get your ink on your edges of your stamp. So then what we're doing, so that we're nice and precise, we're going to pop that right in the corner and press down, lifting it up. So you can see our lighthouse, lighthouse is on there. Then we're going to ink up again. Oh, we're not going to ink up again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it in the box. Actually, no, because it was right in the corner. I'm just going to pull that out gently, and I'm going to paint the lighthouse with some gesso. So the gesso is right here. So I'm just going to paint just roughly, not having to get absolutely everything. I might use a finer brush. And again, you don't have to be any great artist. Just getting the gesso basically just on a lighthouse, not worrying about the rocks. I'm just getting a reasonable coverage on that. Okay. So you can see I've just painted over the lighthouse. Then I'm going to dry that off. I really am right-handed. I find it very difficult to to dry off with my left hand. Okay, so I think that's dry. What we're going to do now is pop it back in our makeshift precision press. Just check that that's dry. Ink up again, pop it right in the corner and press down. And there we have our lighthouse. So I think that's pretty cool. I think that's turned out quite nicely. Then what we can do is add the reeds. So we're just going to pop the reeds so that they're coming in front of the lighthouse. And then we just add the little sentiment. So again, because it's quite a bold background, you want to have a sentiment that stands out. So if your sentiment doesn't stand out, if it's a small sentiment, I'd probably stamp it on a separate piece of card, like on a white piece of card, and then mount it. So there's the Explore, Dream, Discover. Then what I did with the other card was I did a bit of doodling around the edge to make a bit of a frame. So I'm going to dry it off again, because I find with the dilution paints, if it's really not dry, you then have the pens picking up the paint and it wrecks your pens. So just drying that off again. And then what I'm going to do is with the black pen, so I'm just going to doodle like backwards and forwards. So it's just a line backwards and forwards with the black to give it a little bit of a border. And I'm just going up to the reeds. I'm not going to go around the reeds. And then the white. So then just add in a little bit of the white as well. Now you can also do a couple of little squiggles to tie it in. go. And then it's just tape on the back. So again, for taping, I just tend to break it off. It's great, the express tape, it just breaks off beautifully. 4 pieces. And then that's going to lift that up. I've got paint all over my hand, so no doubt. There's my trusty bone scorer. There it is. Yep, I have paint on the card. This is where you need to be careful because, as you can see, I've got paint everywhere. So just really trying to avoid getting paint on your base card, because you want that to be nice and crispy white so that your art piece really stands out. So I'll cover that one. There. Now I'm just going to add a bit more of the black, because that's standing out enough. So there's the final card. So I hope you like them. No two will ever be the same, and have fun playing and getting messy. And I'll be back in a fortnight to give you a demo on the cards that I've come up with for the backgrounds that we've just created. Okay, have a great week, and I hope we're out of lockdown soon. Stay safe. Wash those hands. Bye.